Volume 1, Chapter 16. After we finished the contribution split, my final pay came out to a total of $1,510. After taxes and stuff, it did go down a bit, but compared to my porter days, this was easily several times more than what I used to earn. I went confirmed that it went into my account and we all headed to a small restaurant. After we all had dinner and we all started to drink a bit, Hyunjun called me outside. "You did well. This is your porter fee," he said to me as he pushed a thick envelope in my direction. I had been wondering when I would get this. When I checked inside, I saw there was $500. This is a bit much. That means you were just that valuable. Even still, 500 is, did you by any chance take from some of your contribution money to pay me this? Hyunjun had taken 30% of the contribution fee. That means he had taken about 6,000 for himself. There were some grumblings from everyone, but no one said anything because they did acknowledge that he did a good job as the party head. Ho ho! You're pretty sharp, aren't you? Well, I did think that you took a pretty big percentage for yourself. But I didn't even suspect that you were doing it to pay me this much in porter fee. I did it to cater to Manager Kim's pride. I knew he would say something when we were doing the contribution split. I wanted to avoid any unnecessary confrontation. Is he someone you know? Not personally, but we needed a mage pretty quickly and I met him through an introduction. He's someone who would create trouble if we don't do things the way he likes it. I heard some rumors. But he was a last resort, so we had to use him. So that's why you ranked him as number 2. You know this is all hush-hush, right? Of course. Thank you. But what are we going to do about everyone else then? I took care of them all. Don't worry. Hyunjun laughed as he lightly patted my back. Manager Kim was wasted and bragging about his sleep skill the whole time and didn't even know this was happening right under his nose. In that time, Hyunjun called everyone one by one and gave them a little more of the contribution fee. Thanks to Hyunjun's quick thinking and consideration, the night ended on a light note. Everyone received more than they expected and General Kim was pretty happy at being ranked at number 2. I was actually curious about how he would have reacted if he only knew that he was almost neck and neck with Glasses Girl for last place. The day after the raid. As soon as I woke up, I headed on over to the neighborhood gym. This is somewhere I go every day to train, but I was going there for a different reason today. The gym was packed with housewives. Because it was in a residential neighborhood and had a swimming pool as well, it had somehow become a meeting place for married women. I greeted a trainer with my chin before making a beeline to the dumbbells. I started off with a dumbbell weighing 30 kb. Light. Hee hee. So light. The extra strength was still active even after a full day had passed. I put the dumbbell back down and picked up the heaviest one at this gym, a 40 kilograms dumbbell. This was light too. I started doing some reps. I would usually have a difficult time with a weight this heavy, but I breezed through 3 sets and still had energy to spare. The trainer was watching me with arms crossed behind me. We were at least on a hello basis since I've been coming here for a few years. Though his arms were way bigger than mine, he was pretty much only able to do about 3 sets of 35 kilograms weights. He stared at me for a bit longer before saying, "Aren't you trying to do too much? I guess I'm in good condition today. Do you have anything a bit heavier? You don't want to get hurt." Ha ha. You know what I do for a living. People who work out a lot are overly cautious about not getting injured. But porters are even more careful. Are you using drugs or something? No, nothing like that. The trainer shrugged his shoulders and pointed to an iron bar. I guess he was telling me there wasn't any heavier dumbbells, so I should use weights instead. I popped in 50 kilograms weights on both sides. Including the weight of the bar, it was 110 kilograms. I held it with both hands and raised it up. It was a bit hard, but it was just heavy enough to exercise the muscles. I didn't plan on trying to get stronger right now, so I just did a few more reps and lowered the bar. When I got up to leave, I saw another man come in and groan while trying to pick up the same bar. I couldn't help but let out a small snicker. I went through a few more machines to gauge my strength level before hitting the treadmill. I wanted to test my endurance this time. Beep. 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 I put in 18 kilometers and started running. After running for an hour, I finally came to a point when it felt like I was about to die. But even an hour was a record for me. I would usually only be able to do about 30 minutes normally. But even the sweat that had been pouring out like rain stopped at some point. It was usually dangerous to work out to this degree. Not only does it throw off your balance for the workout, but it could also cause some long-term damages to your body. Ha. 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 My breathing rung out loudly throughout the whole gym. Even those who usually kept attention to their own workout had begun sneaking glances at me every so often. Why is that guy working out so crazy today? I don't know. Maybe he's training to do a marathon. I'm about to die. I had become fixated on the stop button for a while now. I wanted to press it so bad right this second. But if I stop right now, I have to start from the beginning all over again. Hell no. Not doing it. Oh. I let out a yell to hype myself up so I can keep doing this. The old ladies behind me gasped in surprise and began fanning themselves. This wasn't really something I should be doing in the neighborhood gym, but whatever. Shit. This was hard. I feel like I could pass out any second now. Then out of nowhere, I felt like my chest was expanding. Pa! A feeling like a huge flow of oxygen running into my lungs overwhelmed me and running became easier. I hurriedly closed my left eye. 03850. 500 points had been deducted. My endurance had gone up. Who? I slowly regained my breathing and ran faster. I was able to run for 30 more minutes. Are you going to run a triathlon? Huh. I was sitting inside a convenience store sharing a cold drink with the trainer. No. I just wanted to check something. I thought you said you were a porter. I thought things were tough in the job area for you guys these days. Yeah. How did you know? The news is always talking about it. That there were some weird happenings at the dungeons. Huh. It seems it's still a somewhat newsworthy topic even after a month has passed. Well, because there were so many casualties. And there are still a lot of families suing the government demanding reparations and payouts. You know that most of the victims were from rich families, so they're probably asking for a lot of money. I think I've read something like that somewhere before too. Honestly, it was the government that promoted leisure parties to begin with, so they can't really say it wasn't their fault. Well, I heard that the government eventually put up a white flag and they're now in negotiations. How about the insurance agencies? Aren't they in trouble too? Yep. Basically, all the stocks for the insurance companies with any raid-related products have been plummeting. It's just bad for everyone all around right now. I heard there were a bunch of companies that just went under. It's really affecting the economy. And because we basically lost our main supply for rare ores, All the electronics have been coming from China and is getting difficult to procure. You seem to know a lot. When I stared at him in surprise, he started laughing. I have a lot of interest in things like this. Being a hunter was also a dream of mine one time. So that's why you started exercising. Yeah. But it was too high of a goal for me to reach. I never knew that hunter gear was that expensive. Ha ha, that is true. Even now, every elementary kid's dream occupation is a hunter. That was how popular and well-paying it was. Famous hunters appear on TV quite often. And hunters with double slot skills were pretty much top celebrities. Volume 1, Chapter 17. But as they grow up and learn about how real life works, they end up giving up on their dreams. If you want to clear a level 1 dungeon safely, you needed a level 2 skill and equipment. If you wanted to clear a level 2 dungeon safely, you needed a level 3 skill and equipment. This made it impossible to make your way up from the bottom because getting the level higher skill and equipment was nearly impossible without the money. So the average person can only enter a dungeon with subpar skill or level, which made any raid a very dangerous thing for most people. Case in point yesterday. If we didn't have Manager Kim's sleep magic, even with EUM Hyunjin's tanking and my attack skills, we would not have been able to clear the dungeon. Risking that kind of danger paid out a mere $20,000. It wasn't a cheap amount, but it wasn't a lot either. Especially if you were potentially trading it for your life. You had to clear a dungeon in this manner a bunch of times to earn enough money to procure level 1 gear. If you were lucky enough, you would still be alive to do the same thing to save enough for level 2 gear. Do you understand now? No matter how hard you try, even if you tried all your life, passing level 3 for a normal person was a near impossibility. Then I think I'll take my leave now. I finished whatever I needed to do at the gym. I knew where I would spend the rest of the points I had left. Now that I improved my strength and endurance, I needed to up my reflexes. I didn't have any quality armor, so I needed to be able to evade attacks. This wasn't something I could do by myself. I took out my phone and went through my contacts. No one. I had no one. The only people I could call was either family or maybe my broker. No. Wait. I did have one more person. I hesitated a bit before I pressed the call button. I heard it ring a few times before it connected. What is it? After I didn't hear a peep from you for over 2 weeks. Young-sua sounded mad. I guess it was to be expected after I ignored about 40 of her messages and 10 of her calls. I was busy with some things. Do you have time right now? Aren't you supposed to explain the reason for ignoring me first? Do you want to know the reason, or do you want to hear an apology? Both. I fell asleep for 10 days after learning a new skill. I'm sorry. Fine. What do you need? I need someone to help me train. I only need about 1 or 2 hours. Okay. How much are you paying? $100. It sounds expensive, but if you wanted to use a licensed porter, this was a reasonable amount. Cool. Where should I meet you? The same cafe from last time. I'll be waiting. After I hung up, I headed over to the cafe. She appeared in some training clothes 30 minutes after. It was a slim fit, and I had to admit it looked pretty good. We went to a park nearby. I spied a wall with a bullseye zone drawn on it. I passed her a bag filled with tennis balls. All you have to do is throw all these balls one by one at me until they're all gone. Am I aiming to hit you? Throw it as hard and as fast as you can. That won't be hard. Smack! She had thrown a tennis ball right in my face. Did she want to die? Not now. When I walk up to that wall. Oh! You're not getting mad? What good would it do to fight with you? Just do what I tell you to do. Appa, you know you're no fun at all, right? I didn't call you to entertain you. And don't slip in that Appa word either. I don't remember being so close with you. Then should I call you Sangmin? Call me Sunbae. How about we meet in the middle? Sunbae Appa. How about that? Do what you want.
Whoosh! A tennis ball flew right by my ear. When I moved my chin to evade it, a second ball appeared as if it were waiting for me to do just that. Smack. Kook. Sunbahapa. You kind of suck at this. Did you play baseball or something? I was told you I was training to become an athlete. Didn't I? You didn't. What sport? Shot put. Ah, that's why you have wide shoulders. Smack. Kook. She threw a hard one at my waist. I didn't even see it coming. It was way faster than any of the ones she had been throwing before. It's one of my insecurities, you know. Whatever. Keep throwing at that same speed. Slap. I lightly smacked myself on my cheek and focused. I saw her shoulder move. If I can't see the ball, I just needed to watch for small movements in her body. Whoosh. I barely evaded it this time. Getting into the groove of it, she started throwing the balls in earnest, now one after the other. Even if they were just damn tennis balls, that wench was throwing them with a great amount of power behind each one. It felt like a shower of fists raining down on me. Pop, pop. I avoided 2 balls in succession this time. I was getting used to their speed and could now almost follow them with my eyes. But this was only the beginning. We did this for a while without speaking, her throwing and me dodging, or trying to. We didn't rest to do anything but to collect the balls when the bag was emptied. Ha, ha, let's rest a bit. Just a little more. I'm so tired. I can't let my sweat cool. Do you want to drag this on for hours more when we can probably finish it in one? Just 1 minute, yeah? I haven't used my shoulders in a while, so they're really feeling stiff right now. I couldn't say anything to that but nod. But why are you doing this kind of training? To raise my skill capacity. Like this? It's a passive skill. What is it? Are you asking someone to tell you their skill? Well, who cares? It's just me. If you have the energy to say stupid things, then let's start throwing the ball again. Kai. Fine. I'll throw. She walked back to position, all the while muttering, and threw the ball. I don't know if it was because we rested, but the ball I had thought I'd gotten used to was once again a blur. The ball popped on the wall behind me into a crowd of high school students entering the park. Pop. Caw. Even though the ball had lost a lot of its power from hitting bouncing off the wall, the boy who got hit with it collapsed. I felt a bit amazed at myself for having been able to withstand getting hit by that type of ball over and over again. Shit. What the hell is this? A boy in a school uniform and bleached blonde boy yelled out as she looked our way. I guess I needed to at least apologize since it was our fault. I'm sorry. The ball seems to have bounced over here on accident. You think I'm sorry cuts it? What are you going to do about this? Want me to call the police? Hey, who taught you to talk to an adult like that? Yung Soa couldn't keep quiet anymore and yelled out angrily. Why the hell was she yelling at them when she was the one who threw that fly ball? The high school students smirked for a second before heading this way as a group. There were 10 of them. You stay behind me. I pushed Yung Soa behind me. Why? Those no-mannered pieces of shit need to get beaten up into a pulp so they can learn how to speak to their elders. Don't try to show off your athletic skills and stay out of it. I'll take of it. She made a huffing sound before stepping behind me. Yellow hair threw out a punch. Whoosh. Why are you dodging? Before you throw out a punch, isn't it good manners to at least try and talk it out first? Go to hell. Whoosh, whoosh. He kept throwing punch after punch. Looking at his name tag, I saw his name was Lee Hansel. Am I doomed to meet Hansels forever? Trip. I hooked my foot over his leg as he was busy trying to connect a punch. He fell flat on his face before jumping right back up with a red face yelling, "Shit! Kill this asshole!" Every one of those kids in the group ran forward to surround me in a circle. Though they were just high school kids, they were big enough to be called adults. I guess kids are eating well these days. Back in my days, I never had enough to eat, so I didn't grow too tall. Whoosh! A punch flew at me from behind. I lowered my shoulder a bit and dodged it. Though there were 10 of them, only 4 of them could attack me at one time. And they weren't even trained hunters, so they weren't fighting as one in any sort of coordination either. I just evaded all the attacks coming at me from all around. I didn't really fight back, but when one of them came at me to try to hold me, I unwittingly made a knee kick. Paw!
Ock! My nose! When he went down and started rolling around on the ground grabbing his nose, the rest of them ran at me with a renewed fire in their eyes. Though I was bigger than any of them, they probably thought they would win just from their sheer number. Even if they were only high schoolers, going up against 10 of them at once is not an easy thing. And it was almost impossible to keep from getting hurt without really fighting back. If I really thought about it, this was a golden opportunity. A great way to test out my new power-ups. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have had to pay that girl $100 to train me. I bent my upper body back just as a kick barely grazed my nose. Not bad, but it had no force behind it. Even if I got hit with it, it wouldn't faze me a bit. Whoosh! 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 Shit! Yellow Hair got down to pick up a rock the size of a fist and threw it. What an idiot. It would have probably been better if he just picked it up and hit me with it. Ah! The boy behind me yelled out before collapsing to the ground. HM guessed that rock hit him when I dodged it. Well, that sucks. Volume 1 Chapter 18. Hey, maybe you should calm down a bit. You might get hurt. Shut your damn mouth. Lee Hansol opened his arms and grabbed me. Chop! Cook! I made a small chop to his Adam's apple. He started backing up while coughing up a storm. What I wanted, no, what I needed were attacks I could practice dodging. If someone decided to lay hands on me, I had no choice but to fight back to keep them back at bay. Whoosh! A branch flew at my head. Yeah. Something like this. This was good. But where did they get this? After dodging the branch, I grabbed a foot that was flying towards me and flung it, and the boy attached to the other end, away. He seemed to float in the air for a few seconds before crashing to the ground. Did he just throw Jongpao? Shit. Is he a hunter? After seeing me toss a grown person into the air with just one hand, the kid started to get a little nervous. Like hell he is. He doesn't even have any equipment on him, so what does it matter? Lee Hansol yelled out. Maybe it was because of the coughing, but his voice sounded hoarse and scratchy. Just kick all their asses. Yung Suo was shaking her fist as she yelled out to me. I ignored her and took a step closer to the group of kids. They all took a step back. I'm a bit disappointed. I thought you guys would be able to put up more of a fight than this. I said this in Lee Hansel's direction. I even made a snorting noise to goad him. Since he had a nasty temper and seemed like the leader of the pack, I figured if I egged him on just right, everyone else would follow his lead. I guess my acting wasn't too shabby because boy did he turn red. You bastard. You're so dead. Shit. He pulled out a knife from an inside pocket. It was a folding knife with a serrated blade. Maybe I should have worn a protective vest. Everyone attack. Shit. But what if? Just do what I say. Pop! Smash! After he yelled out, Lee Han-sol pulled out a beer bottle from his backpack and broke it on a nearby boulder. Looks like these punks were here to drink out in the middle of the day. Aren't you guys underage? Old lady. If you're going to keep being loud and annoying, you should just get lost. Smack! The boy who just said that got a tennis ball right in the face and fell back. He probably broke his nose. Who's an old lady? She yelled out as she rolled another tennis ball in her hand. I could hear Lee Han-sol grinding his teeth in anger. It wasn't going the way he planned at all. Kill them both. Ah! The knife, broken beer bottle, and branch all came at me. Now this was a different attack from simple flurries of fists. These attacks were aiming for any part of my body that was most vulnerable. Sunbeapa. Smack! The one brandishing the broken beer bottle at the very front collapsed after being smacked right on the forehead with a tennis ball. The same happened to the second guy. And behind him was Lee Han-sol with his knife. Whoosh! I shrugged so the blade would miss me. I grabbed him by the back of his neck and threw him. The branch hit me in the back. All right. I'll give you guys that one. But when another broken bottle came right where my face was, I grabbed the offending arm and twisted it. Crack! Ah! Shit! This bastard. I then stepped on one foot with my left, brought my right knee up, took his face in both hands and smashed it into my knee. He spun like a top a few times before falling over. Smack! Still another one dropped to the floor from Young-sua's tennis balls. There were two more left to go. Lee Han-sol, who had gotten back up after being tossed, and the one holding the branch. As I rubbed my neck and walked towards them, the branch boy dropped what he was holding and ran away. Don't come any closer! Lee Han-sol yelled out as he tried to stab at me with his knife. It seemed he was trying to attack me, but the hand holding the knife was shaking so hard it wasn't even funny. Hey you! If you're a student, shouldn't you be studying instead of running around doing this shit? Where did you pick up all these bad habits from? What? Shit! What the hell are you talking about right now when we're in the middle of a fight? Okay, fine. So then what'll it be? Do you want to keep holding on to that and get the crap beaten out of you? Or do you want to drop it and get the crap beaten out of you? Stop talking and come at me. You bastard. Shit. You stupid bastard. I'm going to kill you. You should read some books. Do you even have more than 100 words in your vocabulary? Oh. I guess he finally snapped. I just kicked at his leg as he ran at me. Snap! There was a huge sound before he twirled in the air. Oops. Looks like I used way more force than I intended to. I could see his leg was twisted in a weird angle, probably broken, and his head would probably hit the ground first. The ground was concrete. If he falls at that speed head first, his neck would probably snap. Best case scenario, he would be paralyzed. Worst case scenario, he would be dead. I wanted to keep it from happening, but my leg was still in the air from the momentum of the kick and I wouldn't make it in time. I wouldn't be able to grab him safely. Right before his head slammed into the ground, the whole world seemed to slow down. Pop! The same time I heard a pop sound, Lee Han-sol's body flew back. I saw him tumbling a few times before he finally stopped after rolling into a vending machine. Who? I raised my chin and made a sigh of relief. Right before his head met with the unforgiving concrete, I completed my kick full circle and used the same leg to kick back into his stomach. It would probably hurt like hell, but I guess a stomach rupture is better than being dead. The ambulance came with the police and took away all the injured kids. It was broad daylight, so there were quite a few witnesses who could vouch for us. The police had, at first, aimed their guns at me but later apologized after finding out what had happened. This is why witnesses are so important. Even though they were students, since there were 10 of them and were using weapons, this will be filed as self-defense. But since there were quite a few injured, we will still need you to come with us. We need to take a statement from you. That's fine. I made a deep sigh and followed them to the station. This was my first time in a cop car, but it was quite comfortable. As soon as we stepped into the station, everyone looked our way. Oh, is he the one who fought 10-1? A middle-aged man in civilian clothes said as if amused. It looks like the news had already spread. As they were taking my statement down, Young-soo remained quiet next to me the entire time. I thought she would be loud and make a fuss, so I was thankful for that. The police asked, "Girlfriend? Is that what it looks like?" Before I could say anything, Young-soo poked her head forward and asked. The police made an uncomfortable cough before looking back at me. "She's someone helping me to train." "It looks like your occupation is a porter. So what do you mean by training? You had a bunch of tennis balls with you." "Reflex training. Throwing and dodging." When I made a throwing motion, he nodded his head as if he understood and continued going through his documents. Then he slid his eyes and asked, "HM, it looks like there's a record of you having gone to a dungeon? Did you go there as a hunter?" "Yes. I luckily came by some hunter-grade equipment." "Wait a second. Mr. Kyung-wee, can you come here for a minute?" The officer called for someone and continued looking through my documents again. It was a general rule that hunters received additional punishment if they injured a civilian. Of course, since it was already agreed that I fought in self-defense, I wasn't too worried. "Did you by any chance have any weapon of any kind on you?" Mr. Kyung-wee asked. "No. I was bare-handed. The only thing that could have been a weapon are those tennis balls." "HM, I guess it just concerns me that the injuries are so severe." "Wasn't this self-defense?" Sua asked. "It was then." "Who the hell is it? What bastard beat the shit out of my son?" Someone had started barking at the top of his lungs the moment he stepped into the station. It was a 40-something looking man dressed in a suit, and he was acting as if he owned the place. He finally spied me and slowly walked toward me. "Was it you? You shit. You dare cripple my son?" And he finished it off with a slap aimed at my face. Whoosh. "You shit. How dare you dodge it?" "Please calm down, Hansel's father. At least take a seat." The cops who had followed quickly behind tried to placate the man. "It looks like this man is Hansel's dad. I wondered where he got his bad temper from. Now I know." Volume 1, Chapter 19. "You little bastard. Do you know who I am?" "I'm a detective." "Detective. I'll make sure I put you away. You bastard. No, you'll be rotting in jail for at least 100 years. Please calm down and take a seat. Causing a scene like this will not change anything. The same goes for all you guys. If you guys are the police, shouldn't you be policing gangsters like this and locking them away? Huh. I remember all your names. You know I ate with your boss. And even went to a sauna with him. I did it all. You bastards. The middle-aged man held onto the collar of the young officer, trying to calm him down, and yelled into his ear. In an instant, this one-man show had caught the attention of every officer in the station. Lieutenant Lee, who had been patiently watching all this unfold, couldn't take it anymore and put the man in handcuffs. Clack! What are you doing? I demand you uncuff me this instant. It is against the law to cause a commotion within a police station. If you do not wish to be locked up, then shut your mouth and sit down. The last phrase was barely audible to anyone else. Hansel's father's face immediately became bright red. How dare this shit talk to me like that? Temper tempter. No matter how powerless our Korean officers may be, attacking them so obviously was a bit too much. Shouldn't he know better than that if he was a detective? In the end, Lieutenant Lee and some other officers took him into a holding cell. There is always one person like that no matter where you go. Sua said. It's not like it's the first time we see this. So, are you mad, Sunbae Appa? You almost got hit. He even cursed at you and called you a gangster. Does it make you mad? A little. With more experience, that'll change. I guess. She nodded her head. When you live a porter's life, you hear all sorts of things. It's almost so bad at first that you can't sleep. But soon it becomes an everyday thing and you get used to it, and then you eventually forget how to even get mad at some point. I looked at Lieutenant Lee and said, But are you okay? If he's a real detective, it'll be a big headache. He's not a detective, so don't worry. And it isn't even the first time Lee Han-sol got into trouble with the law. Is he a well-known troublemaker? When Sua asked, Lieutenant Lee let out a short sigh. In the neighborhood, yes. There were a few incidences of attacks on other people, but it seems his dad has some money, so the cases always got squashed or he silenced them somehow. He supposedly owns a 3-story commercial building. Oh yes. You said you were a hunter? Yes. So there isn't any proof of you having used or being armed with a weapon at the scene? I don't see one on you, so I can say you probably didn't have any hunter-grade equipment on you at the time either. Did you use a skill by any chance? If proof comes out that a hunter had used a skill against a civilian, it could get really ugly. No. I don't have a skill. There was no point in trying to lie to an officer about not having a skill. This is because in every station, there is at least one person who is able to check a person's skill. But there was a reason why I risked telling this lie. We'll know after we check. Wait here just a moment. Lieutenant Lee said this and left his seat. A few moments later, Lieutenant Lee returned with a woman wearing a blue police jacket. Long hair and uniform. Isn't that a violation of uniform regulations? This is Lieutenant Son Aram. Say hello. I am John Sang-min. Mapo Police Department Special Response Team Inspector Analyst Lieutenant Son Aram. I would like your cooperation in checking for any skills. But do we have to do this? When Sua asked, Inspector Son Aram responded. In serious cases such as this, we must be thorough in establishing his self-defense claim. We must be able to conclude that Mr. John could not resolve the situation without defending himself, and to that end, we need to confirm that the amount of force used was also justifiable. It has helped your case because of the fact that they had used weapons and outnumbered you by so many. And because the power level of a civilian and hunter is so disparate, whether or not you used hunter-grade equipment or skills becomes a very important point as well. But Sua looked at the officers for a moment before whispering into my ear. What are you going to do if they find out about your skill? Instead of answering her, I just shrugged my shoulders. Lieutenant Son Aram cleared her throat twice before saying, Remain still just like that. She grabbed my hand and closed her right eye. The skill for finding out another person's skill is called harmonizing, and if you held onto a person's hand like this, then you were able to check for their skill as if it were your own. The problem was, my skill only shows up in the left eye. A moment later, she let go of my hands and turned to Lieutenant Lee and said, He does not have a skill. So it is true. Yes. Of course, I definitely had my level 0 skill. They just didn't know it. Strength, endurance, reflex, I had pretty much raised them at least about 50%. They were just unable to identify it. If she had closed her left eye, I would have surely been caught, but who would ever think to do that? It even took me, the owner of the skill, several days to figure that out. To win against 10 people without a skill or equipment. Phew. And you don't even look like you would be any good in a fight. No offense. Lieutenant Lee stared at me with narrowed eyes for a minute. I casually accepted the gaze and stared right back at him. Lying and acting was a passive skill to a porter, it came very naturally with experience. We were finally able to leave the station after the sun had already set. As I left through the doors, I turned around to look at the station. I saw Lieutenant Son Aram walking by beyond the doors. What happened? What does it mean that you don't have a skill? Weren't you training to raise your skill level? I just happened to not get caught by the harmonizing skill. She stared at me as if she didn't believe a word of what I was saying. She was probably thinking there was no way that I had a skill that couldn't be detected by the harmonizing skill. Just tell me the truth. Do you have a skill or not? Why the heck would I lie to you? So that you could have an excuse to meet me. I'm leaving. Come on. As soon as I got home, I decided I should organize my thoughts and findings on my skill. I sat down at my desk. Flip. I opened a notebook to an empty page and I wrote down the bullet points of the effort skill that I uncovered so far. Killing a monster gives me reward points. The reward points are used to trade into level up relevant skills based on specific actions. The most I had used so far at a time was 500 points. It is possible that some level UPS could require more. I cannot be caught by those with the harmonizing skill. But I might get caught if they close their left eye. These 4 were the essential points. Under that I wrote out the different level ups I was able to do. Increase strength, 50%. Increase endurance, 50%. Increase reflexes, 50%. I was able to pretty much figure out the increase in strength and endurance using weights and timing myself, but finding out just how fast my reflexes were now was hard to really measure. But I just put down 50% for now since strength and endurance went up by the same percentage. I closed my left eye and confirmed my stats. 0, 3, 350, it looks like every time I upgrade an ability, my proficiency goes up 1 as well. That means I can do this at least 97 more times. Volume 1 Chapter 20. 97 times. I took out a calculator. Assuming that I get the same results every time, if I use all 97 power-ups on strength, then, holy crap. It wasn't hard to calculate what that would mean. My strength right now was up 1 time, so all I had to do was add 1 to 97 and multiply it by 1.5. Tap. 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 Seeing the results, I jumped up from my seat. 180 times. What if I get so strong I can shatter a planet with just one punch? Gulp. Gulp. Ha! I drank a glass of cold water and tried to calm down a bit. Okay, let's start from the beginning and try to think of it in the most rational, practical, and reasonably sound way. There is no way that I could really become 180 times more powerful. That was a number that wouldn't be possible for a level 10 skill book or a level 100 skill book or even a level 1000 skill book. There is no way there would be that kind of a power locked in a zero-level skill. Right? When I finally calmed down a bit and thought about it more carefully, I realized something. I multiplied 1.5 by 98. I thought it was an obvious thing to multiply it, but it would make more sense if the percentage was not a multiplier but a progression until the full potential of the skill. In other words, what if the first round upped my ability to 50% of its potential, the second time 75% of its potential until I reached 100% of my potential? The only way to find out would be to try to up the same skill one more time. I took my phone out and called my broker. Ring. Click. Why are you calling at this time? I heard my broker's sleepy voice come through the line. Do you have any job openings? If I did, I would have called you. You know that openings in general parties aren't easy to come by. If a spot does open up, can you give me spot priority? Why are you in such a hurry to go back? People usually take at least a week's rest after going into a dungeon. You know what my goal is. To buy an apartment without a loan before 30? No, not that. Well, that is another goal, but the going rate for apartments in Seoul were about $1 million. The population is down by about 50% since the monsters first appeared, but the landscape had also weakened, so building of any new high-rises had become banned. This created less room for more housing structures, and all the existing structures had become extremely expensive. To become an amazing hunter who surpasses even his teachers? You mean that? I thought you were joking. Not a joke. For someone who became a porter because you couldn't get employed, okay. Well, I guess dreams are better if they are bigger. I could hear him laughing over the line. In any case, don't worry. I'll give you a ring right away when a spot opens up. Thank you. Yeah. And then I didn't hear a peep from my broker for a whole week. All I did was stare at my phone that entire week. I didn't have a TV at home or any hobbies I particularly enjoyed, so there was nothing else for me to do. With my extra time, I just went to the neighborhood gym and worked out like hell. I finally couldn't wait any longer and called him. Hey. I'm sorry about that. There just aren't any openings these days. Really? Because general parties usually already have their parties organized with people they know and trust. I even took your profile and went here and there to get someone to bite, but nothing. Anyone who's looking is looking for an expert. They were all reluctant on hiring a beginner. Things are probably worse, especially before the irregulars. But none have appeared recently. Well, you never know when one might decide to appear again. Is Mr. Eum Hyunjun not going into dungeons? I heard he got recruited into a regular team. He probably won't be hiring amateurs anymore. Shit. I thought he was pretty good, but to think he got recruited into a regular team so fast. I figured he would probably call me again since I did show him I was pretty good that last time. But if he was already recruited, even though he was good, he's only a level 1 tanker, which would mean he would be the lowest level on a regular team. He would be busy trying to look good to everyone else on the team and have no time to bring me along for the ride. If you're that desperate, why don't you create your own team? Me? Yeah. You have a lot of experience, so you should know enough people to be able to clear a level 1 dungeon at least. I can't really think of anyone. Yeah. Since you don't really get close to people. I'll think about it. I thought about my broker's suggestion after getting off the call. I couldn't think of any reason not to do it. Armed with my current skill and my slew of experience, clearing a level 2 dungeon could even work. Even if they might be lacking in an ability, it really could work if I just got a group of level 1 hunters together. I just need to get the right number of people. It was fine if we didn't clear the dungeon. The only thing I needed were my reward points. I put up a posting at the hunter market. Looking for a party to clear a Bikunsa dungeon. Heading party. Beginners eligible. Experienced hunters welcome. 10 people party. Majors and healers priority. Then I waited. Usually heading parties are made, not because their goal is to clear a dungeon, but so they can gain experience. And most experienced hunters will not join a heading party. But I didn't want to lie and say that it was to clear a dungeon because if anyone found out the truth later, it would ruin my reputation. When I went to check up on my listing, I saw there were a few responses. Who is John Sang-min? Anyone heard of him? He's a newbie. No matter how desperate you are for money, don't join this type of party. If the party head is a beginner, you'll just end up dead. There isn't even any information on him. But it looks like he has a conscience since he did write that it was a heading party. Not going still. The responses were worse than I expected. After thinking about it for a minute, I put down my abilities. Level 2 equipment. Level 1 skill, pending. Since I wrote level 1 skill, pending instead of just level 1 skill, it should be closer to the truth. The responses started flowing in. Isn't it dependable if he has a level 2 equipment? He might have just one thing. What does that do? That one hurt. I might just have one weapon, but I'm plenty strong. Even if he just has one, shouldn't that be enough? If he has that kind of equipment, his abilities should be pretty good too. He even has a skill. Oh! Who is this? But what is that level 1 skill? Isn't that just a typo? He might have meant that he's a level 1. I'm going to ask. I sent him a note. Who are you? You're bold. I got the note. I opened it up with an anxious heart. It was Young Sua. Is this chick a stalker or something? How the heck did she even know I posted this? Are you kidding? As soon as I sent her that text, she immediately responded. Don't you need a porter? Why would I need a porter when I can do it myself? Hey. As the party head, you should just focus on hunting. Whatever. Get lost. Don't be like that. Come on. Think about it. The chance to hire a licensed porter for a level 1 general party doesn't come by every day. My goal isn't to clear the dungeon anyway. After killing a few monsters, if things get tough, I was thinking of just leaving. That's fine. I'm trying to gain experience. I'll only take half pay. I can't get a job these days anyway. And it's nice to join one where I can trust someone. I was beginning to sway. Though I didn't necessarily need a porter, it was true that having one would make things a lot easier. Carrying around a heavy bag not only took its toll on you physically, but it also made it difficult to cope with unexpected situations. Why don't you stand by? We'll talk after I get more people. Yeah, you. I'll be waiting. Party head. After waiting another day, 2 more inquiries came in. Both were beginners. Nothing I could do about it. I couldn't wait anymore. I thought I would have to just form a 5-person party. I touched my phone for a bit, then made a call.